So we're all plugged in, and the first thing we need to do is go to our network settings and open network preferences, either this way or through the control panel, system preferences, network. First thing you want to make sure is your Ethernet light is green.
Yep.
That means you've got an actual connection.
Yep.
It should be configured using DHCP. DHCP stands for
Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol.
And that basically means that the device on the other end of the network is giving you your address. And your IP address is listed right here, 192.168.1.100. That's called private IP address.
Yep.
And Brandon, you had a really good analogy for that.
Private IP addresses, there's private and public IP addresses. That's kind of like, if you're familiar with office phone systems, you can have your own extension inside your office. Like you can have a 3 or 4 digit extension that in your office you pick up that phone, dial 213, it rings extension 213, but you can't go home to your home telephone and pick up 213 and expect to get your office extension because you need to dial a public phone number. Same thing, IP addresses can be private, like private extensions on phone systems, or they can be public, publicly accessible. Anything that starts 192.168 is necessarily going to be a private address for use on your internal network here. So
they're reserved by the Internet Name Authority for private IP addressing. So you know that you're getting a private IP address. And the router is showing its IP address right here as 1.1.
Yep.
And that's the number we need to know.
192.168.1.1, write that down. That's all you need.
All right, so we're going to close this because that's all good. And we're going to open up our web browser. And we're going to go to that IP address. Now, first thing you see is you open your web browser and you see your start page.
Yeah, you're on the internet.
So you're on the internet.
If you see this, if you see Google or MSN or Yahoo or something, your router's up and working.
Life is good.
Life is good, but don't stop here. It's completely unsecured.
Yeah.
And we'll find you and we'll hack your stuff.
Yeah, and you won't like it. So you're going to go to that IP address that we typed in, 192.168.1.1. And it's going to ask you for a username and password.
Right.
Now, because we've been doing this for years, we actually know by heart the default admin usernames and passwords for basically every commercially available router made in the last 10 years.
Right.
This is why the first thing we're going to do is type in admin, and we're going to log in. And the next thing we're going to go to is administration, and we're going to change that password.
Yeah. So the default password was admin, A-D-M-I-N. We're going to change it to something else that's secure that only we know. So we'll do that now, and you should do this too. First step, go in, change the password. Remember the password, please, or write it down. Keep it in a safe place. Yeah.
Something I recommend you do is do something like this. Go into here, router password, and then save that on your hard drive.
Yep.
That way, if you forget it, you don't need to remember it. But I'm not going to save that one because that's not what it is.
Yep. But yeah, save it or put it someplace. Email it to yourself. Whatever.
And it's going to ask us for that one again. The username is always admin by default. You can't change the username on these cheap routers. And we're in.
Okay.
So that you've done the first thing you need to do to really secure yourself.
Right.
Is change that password.
Change the main password to the router. So we've done that. So that's all well and good.
Now, we saw, because we got that the internet website, right?
Yeah, you're working. Right.
You're working.
It
so
works.
if we go to our status page, you see that right here it shows an IP address 65.103.182. Is that that's a public IP address. That's
Right.
not your 192.168.
Right.
That's the outside IP address of your router.
Yep.
That's the one that it's pulling from your internet service provider.
Yeah, there's kind of two sides to the router. There's the outside part that connects to your DSL cable modem. That's the internet port or the WAN port. Then there's an inside part, which is the wireless interface, or if you're connecting wireless, you're connecting to one of those other 4 ports. You're on the inside part of the router. So the outside address, that's the IP address. You're getting that automatically from your internet service provider. It's in there. It's plugged in. It works.
It's working.
Yeah.
If you see zeros in this thing, you've got problems.
Yeah. If you see all zeros, then you need to check the cable between the internet port on the Linksys and the device that's provided by your internet service provider.
A lot of times, just unhooking the power to your cable modem, your internet DSL modem, can just kind of get that thing to sort of reset itself, and it'll come back up.
Yep, just
so if that shows zeros, pull the power, and then just refresh your browser. or just do a DHCP release or DHCP renew. We've got to get the same IP address both times because ours works already, and it's going to pull the same IP address again.
Yep, it'll set itself up. So,
all right, so you're good to go. So you've actually got internet access.
Yep, you're on the internet.
But the mother-in-law, she's got the laptop. She wants to use the tub.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
So we got to set the wireless up.
So we got to set the wireless. Now the wireless is probably working, and you'd see that. But what we're going to do is we're going to go secure it because you don't want the neighbor's kids on your wireless network. You don't want the scary guy who lives in the van at the end of your road.
Now on these warts and on these Linksys warts, it's one thing to remember that when you turn them on, the wireless is turned on by default.
Yep, the wireless is on. So this is working. You could connect to it and it would work. And there's no security at all. There's no barrier to your network. You're just broadcasting your internet access to the world.
Right
at this point.
So so we go to your wireless basic network settings, mixed mode. There's several different modes. Mixed is probably going to work fine for you. Then the next thing is SSID, and Brandon actually knows what that stands for, which is?
That's Security Set Identifier.
There you go. And it's by default Linksys.
Right.
Comes from the factory that way. Handy little thing. Let's say you're, like on today, where it's 8 below 0 here in Iowa, you're stuck in the snow in some neighborhood somewhere, and you need to get some email out to somebody.
Right.
Open up your notebook, open up search for wireless networks, and look for anything that says
default, Linksys,
Netgear, D-Link, whatever.
Chances are you got it home from Best Buy, plugged it in, and it just worked. Just like this kind of magically worked. But they stopped. They didn't do the cool thing, which is supposed to go in and change the password.
Or even the smart thing.
The smart thing, yeah. It's anyway. So they left it the way it was. It worked out of the box, and everything was hunky dory. Also, it's probably open to the world, so you can just go ahead and try and connect to that network, and chances are it's going to work.
And you can see if it's open network because it'll say it's open. It won't have a lock by its icon.
Won't have a little security lock.
So we're going to change this to. There we go.
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
So
that's the first thing we're going to do. Now, the wireless SSID broadcast, you can turn that off.
Right.
And that means that anybody who does a network search for wireless networks, it's not going to broadcast it. That's one way of securing your network. If you never want anybody to ever even try to connect to your network without actually having the written instructions from you, that's one way to go.
Right.
We're going to leave ours open because, well, Grandma's really quite not that bright. So, and we're going to go ahead and save our settings. And continue. Now we're going to set up some wireless security, which actually makes it harder to log in. And as you can see, security mode on this thing is by default
disabled.
It's open.
Wide open. So there's no security set, so we're going to go ahead and do that.
There are a lot of security methods and encryption technologies, but for most people, WPA2 Personal is good.
Is good, yep.
And it's good for a lot of reasons, but one of which is it enables text passwords as opposed to hexadecimal passwords.
Right.
And you can use a pre-shared key, and this one is don't fear the router. And if you're using WPA2 Personal, don't fear a long key.
Yeah, exactly. The longer the key, the better. You're going to have to remember it, write it down again, save it to your hard drive, keep it in a place that's safe, because every computer that ever wants to use your wireless is going to have to enter that password in order to get on. So make it long, but make it something that you've got it, you can remember it, or you've got it written down. Keep it in a safe place. You're going to need it again someday. So anyway, so we've got that set, and then we need to save settings.
Yep.
All right.
All right. And now we're good. So now to test our wireless settings, we're going to unplug the cable.
Yep, we're going to unplug the cable from the Ethernet cable from the laptop to the Linksys. You can get rid of that now.
And so if you open network preferences, you'll see, oh, look, no Ethernet.
No Ethernet connected, yep.
Okay, so we're going to turn that off. And we're going to go to our airport settings. And there is our Don't Fear SSID with a handy little lock next to it, which tells us that this is
an encrypted network. It's secured.
You got to know the password to get in. We're going to select it. You can always elect to show the password, which, if you've got a complex password, helps things a lot. And hit OK.
And now, if everything works correctly, then we should be able to just go right out to the internet.
Bam.
And there it is.
And you're done.
And you set up your router all by yourself.
Yay. And you know what? Grandma's safe.
And grandma's safe.
And
She's
the girlfriend is safe.
or the girlfriend, or the mother-in-law, or
Whatever.
whoever it is that couldn't set up their router and wanted you to do it for
All
them.
right. Thanks for joining us, and come back next time when we'll talk about open up some ports for some games and stuff.
There you go.
Cool. Later.